Welcome, everybody. Bron, you are terrific. You're bringing in Australians who are really thinking about what kind of a country we are going to leave future generations of Australians. But beyond that, these are world issues that, as we saw last week in a piece I did with Craig Kelly talking to Andrew Bridgen in the UK, across the Western nations, there is a real lockstep attack on the people from the globalists. So I'd like our guests to begin by introducing yourselves. Martine, could we begin with you? Tell us who you are, what you do, and what your top three most pressing issues are at the moment from your perspective for Australia and feeding into the world issues. Martine.
Hi, Liz. Thank you so much for having me on today, joining these very esteemed guests that have such a wealth of knowledge. Look, my background is in environmental science, but I am someone who wears quite a few hats. I'm an Edge Radio Australia presenter where I have a segment called Martine's Eco and Country Bites, and I talk about environmental issues as well as regional issues affecting farmers and fishermen and people that are out in regional and rural isolated communities that don't usually get a voice. So that's, freedom of speech platform that it's vital after what we've seen happen in the last 4 or 5 years. And then I'm also the campaign coordinator for Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay, which is stopping the offshore wind turbines going in an installation into a whale birthing zone here in Western Australia. But we're also part of a huge group now that's pushing back Australia-wide to stop them in all the whale migration areas, as well as the impact on fisheries and the marine sector.
Your hats are so important that you wear. When I was looking you up, I mean, a big freedom of speech advocate, and they're really trying to stifle your voices in Australia. But that whale birthing, Martine, I have sat on the coastline of Sydney and watched the whales swimming past. It is one of the most beautiful things that you can see when you are visiting Australia as they travel past the country. So tell us more about that. How much do they get affected? Why does it matter so much, and why should everyone care?
So what we've seen is, like so many things when it's to do with this greenwashing, so-called renewables that aren't renewables at all. It's about money grabs, grants, and about foreign companies and corporations using locations like Australia to carbon offset what's going on around the world. So it's not about the environment at all. We do know that there's a lot of science to do with underwater voltage, high voltage cables that cause, failure in eggs, in larvae, mutations from being exposed to the EMF. EMF is a huge thing to look at. Also, when it comes to marine surveying, we already know that from what's happened across the east coast of the USA, where it was fast-tracked by the Biden administration, where there was so little environmental research and impact assessment done before it was rolled out, even to the point where trusts for decommissioning weren't even done. So they were allowed to go in and do installations there without so many T's crossed and I's dotted, as far as I'm concerned, on how we used to look at strategies of implementation and new industries in areas we hadn't seen before. So when you're talking about putting installation into marine areas, there used to be very strict, stringent laws, and now, because it's called climate change agenda and hysteria management, to give that as the overarching sort of priority here above habitat protection and biodiversity protection and looking at things in a holistic way. There's no precautionary principle that's been done at all. And to be perfectly honest, in Western Australia, our grid is already overloaded from the production of solar power from people's homes. So the grid is overloaded. We don't actually need any more. We already have so much gas, coal and other things, and I'm not saying that's the be all and end all, but certainly bankrupting our nation and leaving generations of debt for others to deal with is not the way to go. But as far as in the ocean, we do know that studies that have shown that the acoustics underwater do not affect that do affect whales differently than they do humans. And there is lots of evidence already, regardless of peer-reviewed research, they're expecting. That's the thing that comes at us all the time. It's like, where's your peer-reviewed reports? And I will say to people, this is a new industry that was rolled out with any precautionary principle. There was no environmental impact assessment done prior. So there was no baseline data to show where the impact has been. So this is the problem. This is where we have thrown the baby out with the bathwater, and the current government is trying to exclude themselves and proponents under the green renewables umbrella from any kind of pushback as far as litigation or damage that they may be causing to the environment. They're excluding them from any form of prosecution whatsoever.
That's a brilliant, wide-ranging answer, and you cannot say you're an environmentalist and allow, as you mentioned, even the sonar, the sophisticated sonar whale system. They communicate by these beautiful whale songs. Even that gets interfered with. But there is so much more to unpack there. Thank you for this, and it does show the breadth of your understanding. We'll come back to a lot of those points. Michael, could you introduce yourself and what you believe are the three most pressing issues that Australians should care about at the moment, and beyond that, the whole world, because this is being rolled out in lockstep?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Geez, that was really good. Nice work. So basically, native title's a thing that's really affected us here, and it and the renewable energy industry and a lot of other things are actually tied together through the conversation around state land, or crown land, as it might be known in other parts of the state. So basically, what has to happen is if you want to put transmission lines in, if you want to build a solar farm, for example, or do something like that, you've got to have your social license. So, you've got all these things you've got to adhere to, and they basically force it in through the legislation, et cetera, et cetera. So for where we are, I'm the publican in Tubi, so we've got a little hotel in the middle of nowhere. There's like 30 people live in the town, about 12 houses. Never worried anyone in the world. We just got this one pub. It's the post office, obviously.
Just say the name of it again and what state it's in?
Tubi in Queensland.
Tubi, it's a great name.
It means to point in the language, Aboriginal language, the Kamilaroi language, I presume. But anyway, so what's happened is we've just woke up one morning. They've given our whole town away. So 95% of our town were going to give away, or they'd earmarked to give to an Aboriginal corporation in Brisbane. So their connection to this country was between 1920 and 1964 when they were here as part of a labour camp. So my hotel was built in 1911. The train was here in about 1906 or 7 or something. So they would have caught the train out here. So what it's showing us is how they're gaming this native title thing. So none of this is benefiting anybody. Bob Catter actually said last week, I think it was, the average age on country of an Indigenous male went from 53 to 49. So for the $30-odd billion a year that's spent, it's insanity. But get back to where we are in Tubi. So we don't have sewerage, we don't have drinking water, we don't have a park. All we had is this creek, and it's got this big man-made pump hole in it. Then we weird a river up further up the stream to divert water into it, fill it. So they said this is their cultural place. They call it Turtle Bend because they lived there in the 1920s or 30s along with all the other people that built the community. So the first people to camp there were 350 white European railway workers because legislation at the time said, you had to be white to do that. And then afterwards, when it came into ring barking trees and other stuff, so to actually live in the area, you had to be on licence with the government. So it wasn't a nice thing, and no one's saying it's all this and that. But what we are is they're going to atone for this by just destroying a tiny little community in the middle of nowhere. First up, it's where the first time this has happened. So under the Tropic of Capricorn, there'd been nothing given away in the ALA. So our council and the government, everyone's just left us, said, you just can deal with this Aboriginal corporation if your kids want to swim in the creek around the town and if you want to have a future. So we had a common, we lost that, we petitioned for it, and it was part of our town. So, David Littleproud actually did something good and called out the Goondiwindi Regional Council on that fact that we had a common and they could have defended it and didn't. So whatever this land deal is really weird. So it sort of starts about 2009, and it's pre the Pathway to Treaty. So it's a concept they're coming up with to expedite native title determination, so they can have the conversations with the poles and wires, the resources, etc. Everything that you've entwined native title in with control over the state land. So anyway, 2016, they get the native title determination. Yeah, beauty, they're the happiest people in the world. They live in Brisbane. Like they say on their website, they come from North Stradbroke Island, which is just bizarre because we're the other side of the range out in Western Queensland, like 450 k's from the coast at least.
Wow.
And yeah, so we're copping all this. It's like woke just went mad, just sort of after the voice failed, they just thought, oh, we'll have a shot at this. So the pathway to treaty, you've got to remember treaty's a concept. So it's Kevin Rudd's apology. It's the Uluru Statement from the Heart. It's land back, which Tubia is, to give them an economic gain to those Aboriginal corporations. So all of those processes you see, the voice, etc. The voice failed. 85% of our community voted no to the voice. And then 3 months later, they did this to us. It's like, it's just insane. Just because you're a little tiny place with no voice, they're like, I'll just shut up eventually. And so, yeah, we've been having to push it on social media and try and keep it relevant.
Oh, we'll really push that. Where can people follow you, Michael? Just give us.
Just on my name on Facebook, Michael Offerdahl. I think there's about 17,000 followers there now. So we're going all right for a town of 30. It's really good.
This is a movie in future years when you've won. However, this is really dark. The same thing's happening in New Zealand. We've got real Māori who are our brothers who've played on our rugby fields with us. There's no difference. We're all Kiwis. But then you've got corporate Māori. You've got the bureaucratic Māori language. You've got all of the ceremonial stuff that has been thought up by bureaucrats in Wellington. And I think you've got the same in Australia, haven't you? You've got this sort of... You've got this welcome to country that a lot of real Aboriginals say, we've never done that. This is all thought up by bureaucrats, isn't it? So you've got real corporate Aboriginals. How do you describe those, Michael?
Well, they're the ones just gaming the system, so the average Aboriginal person doesn't benefit. I think, 80% or something of Aboriginal people aren't represented by an Aboriginal corporation. So there's a small minority doing all the damage and everyone else is getting the blame. Most black fellas out the street are like, oh, it's not me, mate. You know what I mean? And you feel bad for them a bit because they are getting tarred with that brush from the activists who are trying to push all this division. And with the Tubia examples, there's not even a thing there. You're just doing this because you really do believe that these people deserve something just because of the colour of their skin, not because they've got a connection here, because their connection's less than the community, less than the land's been held in trust for by the government. So it's disgusting. Where it was really bad for us, though, is our mayor is the president of the Queensland LNP. So at the same time, David Christofouli had said he'd get rid of the pathway to treaty legislation. Our mayor's in the media fighting against us to stop us. Like what we're saying, look, guys, you've got to stop this happening. So 2 days before the election, they let it through.
And the LNP is what? The Labour Party?
The Liberal National Party. So
Liberal National Party,
that's supposed to be the Conservative coalition part. And no one will speak in Queensland about it. They're all trying to pretend they just want it to go away. And it's like, if you let this precedent stand where you gave away 95% of a community, which when you look on the census data says none of them are Aboriginal, and the legislation says only other interested Aboriginal people can speak on this land matters, well, it's going to probably affect a few people, isn't it? It's not a nice thing. It's not inclusive. It's not reconciliation. And most of our biggest supporters are other Aboriginal people that are just sick of the piss being taken.
And you put it well, that's the Aussie lingo. And for people who aren't aware of the voice here in New Zealand, that was a hugely significant thing where some of the most reasonable, we could say, most logical Aboriginal elders actually said, we don't support this because we can see it will divide and it will cause hatred. Am I right there, Michael? Could you just give us a little quick summary of the voice?
Oh, massively. Everyone could see it for what it was. It's a land rights conversation. It's giving up sovereignty. It's the fourth tier of government, really. So we have to deal with local council, then we have to deal with Aboriginal corporation, then state government, then federal government. Absolutely insanity. Just a way to make everything cost 25% more. And you see it all through Australia here now is there's these little things. It's $16,000 for a lunch. One Aboriginal corporation tried to charge a Banana Shire council to have a lunch with them. How's that helping? How's that closing the gap? It's just an absolute rort. And it needs to end. The whole concept needs to end, really. It's just dividing everybody for no benefit.
And that's what the Marxists want. And we're going to get onto the bigger picture in a moment, the Agenda 2030. I tell you, a few years before the whole COVID rollout, which is also a rort, as we know, the pandemic, the climate change is a rort, and this whole ethnic division, I'll call it, as a rort. I helped a group of Māori who were trying to save very precious farming land near the Auckland airport. And I was early on the scene and we filmed stories. I found out then that what they'd done was the people who wanted to develop the land had taken a very obscure branch of the iwi, of the tribe, and they'd basically bribed a few members of that with multi-million-dollar homes. They were going to get the multi-million-dollar homes. The rest of the tribe, who were the main part of the tribe, were not going to get anything, and they lived in squalor near this beautiful farming land. That was when I woke up to it. Oh, this is being used to divide Kiwis so that they can come down the middle and try to take power. Well, isn't that the Marxist agenda, Michael? That's what Marxists do. They normally come in after a war when everyone's broken and divided and they try to take power. We are looking at communist takeover of Australia and New Zealand, I believe. What's your view? And then you, Martine.
Well, this Aboriginal corporation, the Bigambul Corporation, they actually, after they got the determination, went to federal court again and tried to claim $25 billion in reparations. So there's 800 people that claim to be Bigambul, so that was about $25 million per person. But if you extend that back across our shire, they're asking for over $2 million of property. Like, because over the course of the whole country, well, shire by shire, you're going to pay that. Well, they went in, they didn't say, oh, that's a stupid idea. They said it's not prepared properly. It's like, so that's the high end of the conversation we're going to have. If that's not some kind of communist takeover, I'm not sort of standing here. They're just trying to take the conversation on property rights away from the communities that live there to expedite the conversation. And they use the Aboriginal story for it. It's disgusting. It really is. It's really cruel.
And it also turns people against people. Instead of us feeling it's Māori and Pākehā on the same side against the globalists are dividing Māori and Pākehā, or Australian whites and Aboriginals. Bronwyn, I want your reaction next. Bronwyn Holm, we talk regularly and you brought these two wonderful guests in tonight. Your reaction to what you're hearing, and then back to you, Martine. What do you feel when you hear all this, Bron, and what you've seen as you've travelled around Australia?
That's correct. Hi, Liz. Look, part of the travels is to catch up with what's happening with biosecurity. Now, I know that a lot of this biosecurity zones that are being planted out right now are part of this land grab that we're looking at. They're all put in zones to relocate people under the Sendai framework, which was signed in 2015 by the UN members, of which Australia was one. And by the way, let's think about it. What was happening in Australia in 2015? If I recall, that was about the gay marriage issues, and we were all busy with that. And this UN agenda was snuck through without any consultation, no awareness. In fact, it's only just sort of popped its head since we've been talking about it here, Liz, and other people have taken on the information and taken it further as part of their agendas for good. With these biosecurity zones, it's relocating people where they won't be able to have insurance on their properties. This means that if you have a house, like your homesteader out in a really nice little place, you'll be issued with a "you're at risk" letter. And that's because you could be in a fire or a flood and there's no resources to come and save you, but they will probably find you and give you like a fine for being there after you receive the letter. This biosecurity zoning off is to squash in the communities into what we now call a smart city. We've already seen whole farmlands converted from what was perhaps an olive farm or a wheat farm now is being turned into these smart cities, and some of them are literally in the middle of nowhere. So this has already happened in Canada. As we speak today, we've seen exactly this happening. Now, Canada is just perhaps a couple of years ahead of where we are here in Australia. They've just issued, the government has just issued to their people, they're not allowed to go into the woods or around the lakes on this very topic. At the same time here, we've got whole national parks and recreation areas that used to be open to all Australians. You used to be able to walk up Mount Warning or certain parks on Stradbroke Island, etc., etc. Well, there's locked gates over that now. We know a bus driver who used to collect people from, the different clubs, the RSL clubs, and they'd have a day out. and they would go for a drive to these areas, pop off the bus for a nice luncheon and go back home after. He says that the places that he used to go, they've all got locked gates on them. He's pretty well wrecked his business now. He's got to find somewhere else to take these people, because the national parks, the picnic areas and the fishing areas are all closed off. And this is part of exactly what Michael was talking about. It is covert operation. It is done without consent. It is done without people even knowing about it. You just turn up one day and there's a big gate across the driveway and the walking path, and it's all locked up with big signs saying do not enter. This happened overnight, literally. And as for Michael, listening to his story, and I thought it was so important to hear his story, even though that happened in 2016. And that sounds so far away. It's literally like 9 years ago. That is, I believe that was a testing ground for what could be possible. I think that would have been one of the first ones to be done, because it wasn't long. That was done the year after the UN signed the Sendai framework for the relocation scheme program.
Tell us briefly about that. We will put the longer discussion that you and I did last week. We'll put that underneath it, but just a very brief allusion to Sendai. It's very dark.
Very dark, very covert, and now it's in place. So what this means is that if you're not in a city area, they are through this relocation program. It is to be able to push people off their land. It comes across like it's a land grab for what's out there, but more importantly, it's to push people off the land. And that will be because we've got these floods and fires under the noble idea that this will be for your good and for your safety, because those zones are now considered dangerous. I mean, you know, people have been living there forever, and now we've got danger zones. There's also the fact that a lot of these zones have recourse. So in other words, we will be told that if you've got a home there or property or business, there won't be any insurance for you because it's considered a risk. Therefore, you don't have any insurance. So when the fire or the flood comes through, and there will be one because, well, we all know these things sometimes happen without Mother Nature's help, and you will lose everything. And then you will have to go into the city to be relocated, to get clothes and to be put into somewhere, and et cetera, et cetera. And that business that you had before is history. And I think that's also, that's going to happen to farmers. This biosecurity push is happening right across. I just had a farmer just here the other day from Gatton. He's always been growing hay. Now, he's got so much interference with this biosecurity preventative treatments, you know, the one that I always talk about, the fire ant one, that now he says, don't worry about me losing my farm. Think of it as this whole region's farmland cannot operate. It is beyond operational capacity because of the blue, red and green tapes of these biosecurity zones. And a lot of them are actually not warranted for those areas. So, yes, it's dismal. It's heartbreaking hearing the stories from these farmers. And these are legacy farms. These are farmers that have had like generational farms.
Look, it's absolute bullying, Bronwyn. I was in touch with friends in Canada, in Nova Scotia, where they're not allowed to walk in the bush, and they all hunt, they all fish. They've even been told that if there are fires that come through and they are caught trying to help a neighbour on their farm, they will be fined up to $28,000. So they're trying to stop people helping other people. Does this sound eerily familiar very much like the COVID rollout. This is for your good. Don't talk to your neighbor. Don't help one another. We will give you the advice that you need. This is the globalist Agenda 2030, is it not, Martine? This is all about what the UN has been wanting to roll out so that the few have the whole world and the many are all crowded like Chinese cities, one on top of each other in container crate homes, pack them and stack them as if we don't matter. And that they roll out a sort of AI robot to look after their needs. And they're saying we're not going to provide jobs, homes, really good lives, or even basic human respect for the rest of the population. It's so sociopathic, Martine. What's your attitude? Do you think I'm being too extreme there? But that's where all my research is pointing me.
I've been down these kind of rabbit holes for the last 20 years, so none of this is shocking to me at all. As far as my application to what I'm doing, making sure that people have a platform to speak these voices is vital.
Yes.
Because without those individual stories, you don't get to see the real life application. Because when people know that these are generational farmers, very down to earth, salt of the earth people, and then they're coming back and saying, my neighbours are under NDAs for having wind turbines on their property. We're not allowed to even discuss with our farmer what's going on. So then they have to take it further and get like an action group. And even then the local council may or may not be in support or not. That's on land. But, putting that same thing. So let's stay with it on land. So when you're talking about stripping rights, I've been saying to my family members who are farmers for a long time, do not be hosts of solar arrays or wind turbines. And the reason being is that once your land is contaminated, it will be declared that it's not fit for purpose of agriculture anymore because you won't be able to grow crops on there, and you certainly won't be able to have livestock grazing because it'll be contaminated. I told my family...
Let's sheet that right home. Why is it so badly contaminated? Just explain to people why it's so ruined. Because people think these are highly environmentally friendly products, the solar panels, the wind turbines. They are devastatingly bad for our environment, aren't they?
So the thing is that they shed microplastics, they shed fiberglass, they shed a whole bunch of particulates, including PFAS. And we know PFAS are forever chemicals and they are inside the blades. So on land and in the marine sector, both the blades contain these chemicals, so that once they're in the substrate, whether that's on land or they fall to the ocean floor or in the water columns, what happens is that anything in that area will be closed off. So you can see on land, they're destroying food security for farmers to be able to have a right to sell their product, which is the RFID chips. And I told my family members, once you put those RFID chips on your livestock, they're registered so that if they come onto your land and you're a host of solar arrays and there's been some kind of breakage, which could be cobalt in contamination and all other heavy metal contaminations from, it would only take one hailstorm or a storm to destroy a solar array, or the likes of the wind turbines. You have breakage and oil spills, lubricants that are really toxic as well. So there's that on that side. And then in the ocean, what it is it's affecting fishermen. So what's happening is that in areas where not only is it going to be the installation over the first reef system in the world in Western Australia. So there has never been an offshore wind turbine placed over a reef system, and we have the most extraordinary endemic species on our temperate reef system, which is a limestone reef system that has corals that aren't grown anywhere else in the world. So that's because of the Lewin current that comes down from the equatorial regions down the WA coastline. So that's the only western coastline in the world that has that. There are no other continents or countries in the world that have the same thing, because we're the only one that has the gap between the equatorial region and the top of our country that has this come down. So because of this, it's a very unique, it's a biodiversity hotspot situation. And so what it is that the variations that we get of fish here, our endemic jewfish, our WA rock lobster, is like nothing else. So it comes the whole way down the coastline. And so what it is EMF are a threat to that. Not only that, but Bray breakages, which has already happened, and Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, which were partners in the Nantucket breakage that happened over there off the Nantucket coastline, and LLC in that offshore wind farm. Those broke and fell into the ocean. Now, CIP, who are looking at putting them in and on land here in Kalbarri, in Western Australia.
What's CIP?
Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners.
Oh, okay, CIP, right. All right, yep.
So Copenhagen, again, this is all driven by the Global Offshore Wind Alliance, which comes from Denmark. So you can see it's Copenhagen Energy, Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, they're Norwegian, they all come from the same areas. It's nothing driven by Australians. It's not for us. This is of no benefit for us. Only we get to lose time and time again, not only our rights, but food security, implications for long-term damage on habitat and environment is immense. And now all precautionary measures have been thrown out under the EPBC, the Department of Climate Change, Energy, Environment and Water. And so what it is that these PFASs that are in the blades are leaking offshore already on the eastern coastline of the USA. And this is what would be happening here. In those zones, they're having problems with fish stock already. There's been a decline because of not only the marine surveys, vast areas of marine surveying, but also pile driving. So there was a video footage about a week or so ago. It was trending across the world where I think it was a seine whale that looked like a seine whale to me that kind of was thrashing, and it hit a small recreational boat. I don't know if you saw it was bashing underneath, and then it came around and it was thrashing still. I had been told by people we're in contact with in the USA that whale had just come out of a zone for Empire Wind where they were pile driving at the time. And so this is where we say there has not been enough precautionary measures put in place, and fishermen are suffering. So what will happen is where the installation comes in, if it crosses over a licensed area, they won't amend it. They'll just remove the license from those fishermen. There's been no ramifications for what the government's doing as impact. And we're not just talking about one or two families. These installations in one particular area north of Perth in the area of Lancelin, that is predominantly a whole entire fishing town. So if we go and put in installations there and destroy this entire town, its culture, its value system will completely be destroyed.
This is just so multifaceted in its horror. Is it being discussed at all in your legacy media, your hopeless ABC? We have Radio New Zealand here, we have TVNZ. They never tell the people what's really going on. They go on pushing this nonsense, this religion of these renewables that are not renewable at all, that are highly dangerous for our environment and our animals and our human health. Are you getting anything in your legacy media?
Well, I was part of the legacy media takedown last year, as most people will know, from Four Corners, who did a hit piece on myself and many others that were pushing back very strongly against wind turbines and the mafia that's involved. And I call them that because they know that they are. As far as I'm concerned, when the people of Australia are the ones that are making those requests back to their local councils, the state government and federal government, and it's people-driven requests, needs and ideas, then we should have a response. But when this is foreign policies, foreign corporations, foreign-owned media that is there also perpetuating this, you're looking at a whole propaganda machine, because at this point, there has been a few breakthroughs, but as far as I'm concerned, at the moment, there's only a few stations that will cover anything that's about any negative impact about this renewables steamroller.
It's incredible. Where can people listen to you and support you? Because you're an incredible speaker and you really know your stuff.
So come and join our community at Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay, and we can also direct you to other communities all around Australia that we are united with, because we are an Aussie-wide alliance here to stop offshore wind the whole way around Australia, including Victoria, Tasmania and New South Wales. And I also am a presenter on Edge Radio Australia. So if you find us on Facebook, we're on X and Rumble, but my segment is called Martine's Eco and Country Bites, and I have my own Facebook page, so come and say hello.
It's a real honour that Four Corners tried to take you down. It means that you're right over target. It really does. It means they are scared of the truths you're telling. How are you funding? How are you keeping this fight going? How all of you, who are really doing the good work?
So it runs off the smell of an oily hemp rag, is what they say.
Yes, I can relate.
So literally, there is actually the federal government has just put out there. The Federals and the Greens are now going to. I don't know if you heard, but we were able to bring to the Senate an inquiry into the process of the consultation that failed dismally around Australia with the communities. And every community pushed back and said, we don't want it. This is not good for us. It's not good for our economy. Every place that they're putting in the installation are tourist capitals of Australia. So geograph based, so we've got Dunsborough, Busselton, Bunbury and Mandurah are the tourist capitals of Western Australia, and it's the same over on the New South Wales coastline, and it's the same in Victoria, and it's the same in Tasmania. All the locations that they have chosen are tourist meccas. So the one thing is that it failed. So we bought an inquiry. They put the inquiry to bed. Now the inquiry, they've turned on us as to how this disinformation is being funded. And so I said, bring it on, because mine's self-made stickers. And we said all we did was people wanted to purchase stickers and support the campaign. I said, and if that's what they've got on us, bring it on, because I have a lot to say back to the federal government about the way that they have treated the people of Western Australia and all around Australia. They have totally disregarded every single community that has fought back and been a solid voice from the beginning, that their concerns not once was ever answered by Mr. Bowen, Mr. Albanese's whole government, and now our new Environment Minister, Mr. Watt.
They are disgraceful. It's the same here. Our New Zealand Luxon and his government simply roll ahead with fast-track legislation and never consult. This is a hallmark of the drive to Agenda 2030. We will come back to freedom of speech. I want to go to Michael now, but I just want to ask you one thing. Mary was an Australian girl who married, the Danish prince? I've got that right, wasn't she? They met in the Olympics in... Right, I did have my story right. So, Mary, you're an Aussie girl, and we're going to send you a message about the wind turbines that are causing such havoc on land and particularly in the oceans around your country of birth. What would that message be, Martine? Mary, can you listen to this, please?
Mary, what words I have for you is that if you have completely forgotten your core imprint of being an Australian and how much we value and love our marine sector, in particular our whales. And unfortunately, over there in Denmark, they like whales for a very different reason, and that doesn't gel with us. So as far as I'm concerned, you need to kind of put it all in check here, because we never invited you in. You came in and superimposed yourself into our politics, our front backyards, and all I can say is that this has not gone well for the Australian-Danish relations is the word. I would say that the breakdown, we call them Vikings now, and our slogan is Vikings go home. It was trending so much that it made the renewed economy, and I said the Financial Review actually referred to that. So go us, that's myself and Alex Nichol, who was another person that was tried to be a character assassinated in that Four Corners piece. So clap back to them.
And we just need to think that, we know Prince William has been at the World Economic Forum meetings. Do we know if Mary has been? Mary and her Danish prince? Do we know if he's been?
I don't know. All I can say is that when Australia was one of 36 nations that signed up to the GLOA agreement, which is the Global Offshore Wind Alliance. And so our nation, our government in 2022 signed up on behalf of us without any consultation yet again, and committed to billions of dollars of investment into foreign companies and corporations to come in here and to utilise us essentially as an energy system. So what it is that through grants, subsidies and funding, these foreign corporations will come in here and literally take all the money from us, but we won't get to benefit. The only ones that do get to benefit are private corporations that are going to use this so-called green energy to offset any negatives. So that's why they kind of, like green steel now. It's like how is changing the parameters of that. So there is liquefied green ammonia that's tied into this as well. So down in the Nullarbor, I'm going to certainly call out for that one, because across the Nullarbor Plain there is the most diabolical green hub there for liquefied green ammonia, where the solar and onshore wind array is going to be approximately 200 kilometres by 100 kilometres banned across. Yeah, and so the thing is that underground there are all of these very, very sacred water systems and caves that have animals in there that don't exist anywhere else, and it's a casting. So across the top, and I have interviewed the people that have done many dives down in these waters, and what it is that this casting is very, very fragile. So once you break it, it completely falls apart, and the whole area will just degrade, and it's an instantaneous thing because of the way it's over like shelled rock, so it's been eaten out over millions of years. And so this casting that sits on top where all the biodiversity lives and exists, once that's degraded, it can't come back. And there are these beautiful, very fragile underwater cave systems that are very elaborate, that from inland they go the whole way out to the sea, and they have a mixing, and there's very unusual, like crustaceans and other invertebrates, insects that live in there that aren't found anywhere else. So when we're talking about that, so they've got that out there, and then they've got the marine park that goes across the southern part of Australia now, that they're calling the Southern Reef, which never existed before, but now they're calling it a reef they need to protect. And all it is a way for us to be locked out of our oceans, to have access to good, clean, beautiful protein from fishing, and having rights to go out there and to hunt and gather our own food. So they've locked them out of the marine park that goes from just this side of South Australia all the way around to Augusta in Western Australia, except there's one area they've excluded out of this marine park, and guess what? It just happens to be the exportation part of this liquefied green ammonia. So, and this was done by a lobby group, Pew. You've probably heard of Pew.
I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them.
So they're a UN with agenda lobby group that come in and impose themselves. So they were actually part of a council. How they got themselves onto that council that was making these determinations for over here in Western Australia. So they came in and they said their recommendation is that they need to do this, but let's leave this little part here for these corporations to come in, and this deadly, deadly toxic liquefied ammonia that's going to be exported, again, not for our benefit, to other nations around the world. So that it takes 1 part per million to kill a whole aquatic system. And so they're going to export that just on the side in the middle of a big, huge marine park. But they're going to put fishermen and fish and chip shops. I mean, that's sacrilegious for all of us. I mean, whether you're Australian or from the UK or a Kiwi, your fish and chips, like you're going to lose those. It's like, them there are fighting words.
And so, why would they choose Australia for this horrific, what do they call it? Green ammonia.
Liquefied green ammonia. Yeah, liquefied green hydrogen, but it's not, it's ammonia. And so it's seen that it's a great alternative to energy production, is to use that. And so anyway, the production of it takes so much water. There's the huge desalination plants that need to be put in place. The places that they're putting them, there is no potable water. So you can imagine how much desalination for this large green hub would be there to put in a whole community that doesn't exist there, and the impact on that would be catastrophic. But that's okay, because they made that an exclusion right in the middle of this marine park that they've locked all of these everyday people to go and fish and to put their boats out and go and enjoy with their families. So people are locked out from that, but corporations not from this nation, they're given a green card. Go for it. It's
These
we're being sold out.
Yeah, these people are utterly insane. And this is nothing about the environment, nothing about our health and well-being. And frankly, the most shocking part of my whole journey of waking up was when I realized late in 2 o'clock one morning that Jacinda Ardern must be rolling out the whole jab story and the pandemic response to hurt her own people. And I remember getting up for a cup of tea and thinking, that's crazy. No politician would want to hurt their own people. What we have to face now, and Michael, I think I'll cut to you here, they want to hurt us. They want to hurt our communities. They want to break up our families and homes. They want to hurt our health. They want us gone, don't they, Michael? Is that too far to go?
No, not at all. They actually put a fire break in around our town the other day, the Gunn Regional Council, and the Bigamble Corporation was going to be paid to come out and burn all the grass. So all of that area that they're going to burn is actually the history of the town, so where the people lived along the creek when we built the town, like a historic nature trail, all this stuff. Like, they won't even talk to us. We don't actually have any representation. So we've been left as a community to have our future decided by a corporation, Aboriginal corporation that comes from Brisbane, that was just made up to do these things. So, mate, it's insane, hey?
It is insane. Take us through the fight back you've done. You said 30 people have done this huge amount. What? Yeah, well, do you need a glass of water, Michael? Do you need to stop and get a glass of water?
Oh, no, it's all right. Sorry. Been over at the campground, so it's been a bit dusty with the horses and the cows and stuff running around.
Very Aussie. I like it.
Yeah, so we started out, just obviously we knew we had a problem that was pretty significant, and when we realised we were the first people that have ever had the problem in the country, we were like, righto, geez, this is pretty unique. So everyone was concerned about being called a racist. That was the biggest thing, so nobody wanted to speak. And when we actually forced a meeting, finally, the council brought these Aboriginal corporation people out to the meeting. It was like we weren't even going to get a conversation with our own representatives. They're just going to tell us what our fate was. And so that was through the state government as well and everyone. So we've kept fighting. We've actually gone through every process there is to complain about, every single aspect of what's happened to us through state, federal, local government. It's just absolutely disgusting. And we've used the media and politics. So we got Pauline Hanson, Malcolm Roberts, Jacinta Price, Matt Kenovan, Paul Scarr, Senator Scarr in Brisbane, and probably a handful of others. Barnaby's done a little bit, and other people like that, to put out statements just to say, look, what's going on here? And they still did it 2 days before the election. So it just shows you no regard for the community at all. They were going to do this. It was already determined. They'd already come and surveyed the town, mapped it all out. The only problem is they just had to tell all the people that lived there. You just feel absolutely worthless, like you're not even a human. So what they're doing, though, is they're going to punish our community, 100% of our community, to offset the punish that other people in the electorate might have to suffer. So this is a trade. So it's part of an Indigenous land use agreement. So to people that said they lived here in the 20s to 1964, we've given our shire away. We've exposed ourselves, like I said before, to a $25 billion reparations claim. But now we've got the Bigamble Rangers going to come around and burn our towns to the ground in secret, and we're going to have to. It is absolutely insane, and everyone.
It's more than that. This is absolutely criminal.
We've been on Peter Cretland, Ben Fordham. We've been on every major media platform in the country on this. So there's probably 50 or 60 different news articles, everything. Channel 9, 10, right through. So it gets there, gets the story going. There's one aspect of it all the time, but no one ever wants to make the kill, because like this obviously can't happen. This is a township. You've done all this in secret. Now the state government and our local council are fighting each other about who did what, who said what, and who tried to subvert the people. Well, we don't really care who did it. We just want our town back to be left alone, like be able to go fishing and swimming with our kids and have a future. Like we literally are in the middle of nowhere. We didn't get phone reception until 2014 when they put a tower up. And then Elon Musk is the first time people have had Netflix. Like, we've been left out in the wilderness, then the first time something ever happens, they give us away. And like we said, we don't even have sewerage. We don't have drinking water. We've got nothing. They've spent enough money to try and give our town away to actually give us those services. And you just, terrible. It's so disgusting. It's woke gone mad, isn't it?
And it's as Bronwyn says, you're the experiment. If they can get away with it with you, they'll do it everywhere. So anybody watching this thinking, oh, well, that's their problem. No, this is all our problem, because where they get away with it once, they push on and they do it to many more towns. So where are you at with you're saying you've got into the mainstream media and it makes a little ripple or so, but it goes nowhere. What about local elections? Can you guys get yourselves locally elected so you can have an effect on the board and the decisions that they're making?
Well, this is the problem. We had a local election and this happened just before it, but our local council obviously didn't give the information out. They tried to blame the federal government's native title for everything and just, confuse everybody that's involved. Instead of being honest, it's the Queensland Aboriginal Land Act that gave this away. So that's something that we could lobby from that local government level. And when your mayor is the president of the party that's about to win the election, which has also said we're going to get rid of this treaty stuff because of the voice result, the 70% of Queensland voted no, then for the media this to turn its back and not go, well, why is this other guy out here saying this is all great and this is a good thing when the whole community and everybody else doesn't support it? And oh, mate, it's such a stupid spot to put a community in. There was 15 other towns that were going to get done the same way. I think, thankfully, we kicked off enough that it stopped that happening. Yeah, they obviously gave us the wages to punish us to make sure we'd shut our mouth eventually, maybe. I don't know.
They're so vicious. What about approaching the bureaucratic Aboriginal group, the corporate Aboriginal group, and saying this can't go on? What are they like when you meet them face to face?
Well, you don't meet them because they don't come from here. So we've got no idea what they are at all. All the Aboriginal people helping us, though, are other tribes from the area that have been here longer and have different connections, people whose family were born in the township and stuff like that. So, I don't know. Really, we're a precedent. So reverse this first time this has happened, doesn't happen anymore. That's how simple it is. So once the world works that out, the Two Beers had this massive fight for you because every single person in Australia's land rights is going to suffer if this precedent stands and transpires around the country. Now, New Zealand and Canada, America, it's the same thing there, and they use the same terminology. Yes. They've got all the humiliation rituals, you name it, they can do it all. And, they're not even trying to hide what they're doing. It's so stupid. Everyone's just so worried about being called a racist for saying anything. It's like, well, if the gap's widening, and this gap was what you wanted to close with, the gap in inequality, well, you're not closing it, and someone has to have a yarn with you. Like, you've got to stop doing this. It's dividing communities. It's destroying the country, and it's wasting billions and billions of dollars.
What do you feel when you hear what Martine has to say as well? What's your reaction when you hear the struggles that are going on also in terms of this complete environmental rot?
Oh, we've got all that crap going on here too. So we're not hearing anything we don't know about. We're in renewable energy zones just up the road. So this same Bigginbull Corporation's actually already used cultural heritage to work for jobs for the boys. So we rang up the company there. There's a crew came to my hotel and they were off for 4 weeks. They were stood down with the gear sitting in town over a cultural heritage survey. And I rang the number up and my mate said, it's jobs for the boys. I was like, oh, wow. Like, why are we giving these people all this power when they don't? We've been here longer than them. Like, if you want to get into the technical terminology of it, well, they're only saying their connection area is 1920 onwards, and we've been out this way the rest of the world since 1840. There were more Chinese people here than there were Bigginbull in the census back in the day. Like, it's just disgraceful. And erasing our culture and calling us colonialists and all these other words they've got just to make us want to shut up and not speak. I think that's really ordinary. And our government's paying for that to be done to us.
Absolutely, and it's bullying and it's divisive. So tell us about the reparations. You mentioned that. What did that involve? What does that involve?
That's a federal court decision where you go for reparations. So it's part of the treaty concept. Like I said before, reparations claims are part of that. So for land that's been used already, you got to pay that back because someone owned that before you came over here on your little boat and took it all over. That's the theory of it. Where it ends for those guys is they want 360 independent nations in the country, independent Aboriginal corporations that are going to be doing deals on minerals and all sorts of stuff. Like, it's absolute insanity. It's like, would you want to run it out to the end and completely destroy the country? Do you reckon we might just check her up now? We did have that referendum. The whole country said this is crazy, and probably a fair percentage of the ones that voted for it did so because they didn't want to be called racist. Like, that's it's really
this is
hard.
what the globalists do. They're like waves. They'll try and attack, and then if you push them back, they'll try and attack another way, and that's what they're doing. So how many of the 30 families or 30 individuals in your town? Is it 30 families that you've got there?
No, it's just about 30 people. There's only like 12,
30
14
people.
houses or something.
This is seriously a movie. This is like The Castle.
Mate, if you've seen some of the
Totally
things
relate
we've
to this.
done, we've gone and done some pretty cool stuff with different protests and things we've had to put together. And some of the stuff with the media, like I've never spoken to media in my life. I'm on frigging radio every second day. We've been on Kyle and Jackie O. We've been on Today Show with Stefan Ovig, different stuff like that. And we've had to sort of basically generate content to keep the story going. So we have to go and find all these things happening around the country to show the relevance back to our problem. And obviously more and more people follow and they see the connection. They're like, geez, we're getting absolutely scammed. What's an interesting thing is 35% of the people following our story now, of that sort of 7,500 there, are over 65. And that's a massive statistic. Now, I think from 45 upwards is another 30-odd%. So, everyone knows it's a problem. They just don't know what they can do, what they can say. What do we do? If we could end it right now by pressing a button, everyone would. It'd be over.
Yes.
How much am I going to have to fight? How much am I going to have to talk? Are people going to call me names? Is it going to wreck my business when I lose my job? All the ways they layer it into everything and just try and bully. And, well, you know what? I'm a publican. So, my life's pretty fun. If you want to bully me, let's have a go. Let's find out what's going on. So that's probably how they kept us going.
You are amazing. Have there been dark times, Michael? Have there been times it's really, have you got family and children as well?
Yeah, I've got 3 kids. One started boarding school when the war started last year, so we've sort of lost a lot of time with that. But we've got no choice but to fight. I've had thousands of people come into the hotel, ring me, email me. They don't even care. They're like, just fight them. Just keep fighting. Don't lose this. They know what the press is. They know what it is. They're looking, going, oh, I should have tried harder. I let this happen. I was weak. We can see where there's an opportunity here to win it. And it is. We've got the best story to actually pull this shit show apart. We've got everyone in politics trying to do something that they've all said that they shouldn't be done. Like, we've changed government. We've actually got a Conservative government in Queensland that could end this today. They could give us our town back, reunify our township, and leave us alone and change that precedent. Yet, they've done everything else. Every council in Queensland wrote to the state government to say, like, legislative amendments, which would make this not happen. Heaps of them. There's loads of us. Like, they want to do everything except say the word too big, because the kickback that we've put on, and it's not just our town. There is millions of people that probably heard this story by now, but thousands of people that are pissed off, and they make the phone calls, they email ministers, whatever, and just it's a constant stream. It's like, you guys want to play around with bureaucracy? Well, let us teach you a little bit about writing emails and responding to stuff, because we're gonna get all our friends, as many people as we can, and we're just going to keep frigging going, because you can't do what you've done. I know you think you can, but you're not going to, and we're going to turn this around.
This is amazing. Can you send me one of your videos about how people can get behind that letter writing from Australia and around the world? New Zealanders can get behind it as well. It's a very inspiring story. But what would you love? What would you most love? Is it like the Castle film, where a really caring barrister ended up helping that man who simply wanted his property? That's exactly
what we need. We need about 10 of them.
Yeah,
but people have to realise how easy this is to win. We've actually done all of the work. We've got everything there. We've exposed every part of it. They're fighting each other over who did what already. It's over. Wow. It's just we got the foot on the throat. We just need to make the kill. But why should the people of Queensland have to spend millions of dollars to do that when the government could do that tomorrow morning? They could get up in the morning and go, geez, let's bloody end this little fight with that poor little township in the middle of nowhere. But they won't. So, it's like, which way do you go? Do you push that way? Do you push back over there with the media? The media probably could be a bit more, they haven't actually persecuted it. They just keep highlighting. It's like, there's people that you could make have a very uncomfortable day about what's happened here, and it would be very fair on the taxpayer and the rest of the country that you did that. Yeah.
What's the name of the person who heads the government, the Queensland government? What's the name?
David Christofouli.
Okay, so give him a message. David, this is a message especially for you. And we'll write to you. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. We've said to David, and we've contacted him with this.
Speak to him like he's here in the room. Say, David,
David, right. Oh, this is a great opportunity. Well, I think you need to reverse this precedent now and do the right thing by the 70% of Queensland that voted no. And you said that you would get rid of the pathway to treaty legislation because of that vote. So in a community with 85% out in the bush like us, with a very small voice, it's really, really clear that this isn't popular, this isn't a good thing, and you can stop this happening. You can set the precedent not just for Queensland, for Australia. This is a big thing. This is as big as Marbo, which made this happen. Reverse this around and let's start taking control back at the local government, the state level of our communities. And that conversation with renewables, etc., we regain a lot of control through this, because local communities should control the conversation in their area. And that's what I've got to say.
And David, my message talking to this wonderful, heroic man, Michael, who will go down on the right side of history, is you better listen to him. When we stood up for a baby in 2023, little baby Will, whose parents wanted unjabbed blood for his heart operation, he was 3 months old. Apparently, and I was only told this a couple of weeks ago, apparently Bill Gates flew in and talked to Jacinda Ardern for about 8 hours. And that talk, and this was told to somebody who was close to the baby within the family circle, apparently Bill Gates was saying, you cannot allow this because this could throw off the whole jab narrative, the whole vaccine narrative. So, David, I do have one question for you, and I'd love to talk to you. Have you ever visited the World Economic Forum? Have you signed up there? Because anybody who goes to the World Economic Forum is a traitor to their own country. So I think it's really important you show that you are loyal to the people of Queensland and not to the globalists. And this is where the rubber meets the road, in this town, on this case. That's my message to you, David. Love to get an interview with you if you want to. Michael, how optimistic do you feel that you will win this?
Well, if we don't, we're going to need a lot of boats, because we're going to all have to head back to wherever the hell we come from, because I don't see how there's any future. There's 17 million people in Australia that claim to come from Europe. So that's like obviously a massive majority of 25, 6 million. So if you're just going to steadily erase our culture right through, and there's going to be no check or stop of it, like, we don't even have a future. That's how serious I think this is, and we've got to fight this to the end. And I can see it. We'll win. We'll have to win. We don't have a choice. Yeah.
It's incredible. What are the meetings like in town when you have them? Are the people buoyed as you are? Because you are very resilient. Or do they get a bit disheartened when they're trying all of this?
I think they're just happy that I'm taking on a lot of the load, but there's a lot of people around the community, hundreds of people that are helping us and doing their bits and pieces. Like, it's a big network, but it's so hard to know how to fight it. Because what they always try and do is make you want to do a deal. Let's do a deal where we don't have to speak about this, make things public, and we'll talk about it. Nothing can be on print and all this stuff. And you're like, we don't want a deal. We want a precedent that protects our history, our culture, and our people and our way of life and our little communities. Because 2B never did anything to anyone in the world. We've literally just been here, just the farming's going on. Everyone's having a great time. Get our droughts, get our floods, whatever. Just leave us alone. Like, yeah.
When I put out the Barry Young data about the medical injuries in New Zealand and the premature deaths, actually, very quickly I was threatened with prison if I didn't take down the videos, and our bank account was shut down. Have you had any intimidation like that? Personal intimidation?
Oh, there's been plenty of it through different government branches and that, and just stuff with developments and different things we've got going on at the same time. Like, lots of things have been made really hard for us. It probably wouldn't have been made as hard, but nothing too bad, I guess. That's why we've tried to be so public with everything we've done. So we research, the research goes straight online. Like, obviously, we want to make sure we print everything that's credible and this and that, and that's obviously what we do. But putting that all out there the whole time, and it's like, if you Google something now, we've got a lot of stuff out there that helps us out, instead of just the government narrative of that's what it is. Native title's the best thing that's ever happened in the world. So, when we started out with AI, that's sort of what it thought. And then as you teach it the problem, you're like this and that, and it doesn't want to give you the right answer because it only knows what it knew originally. But by the end of it, like, AI helps us with our stuff, like coming up, getting the content shorter, quicker, so that people will listen to it. If you can't explain your problem in under 60 seconds, just don't worry about it. Because people just don't have the attention span. So some of the stuff we share, we've been getting, I don't know, we've had up over 1 million views on some things, but you can get 10, 15, 20,000. You might get 250, but every time you're putting across a message and someone's learning something. So that's all we can do.
Had you and Martine come across each other before? Have you two worked together, Martine? Have you? Michael, you first, and then Martine.
No, sorry.
Yeah, what did you feel listening to Martine, that you and she could become real brother and sister in arms across
Oh, mate,
Australia.
we've got a lot in common, hey? There's a lot of people like us, though, believe it or not, way more than you'd think. And they're there just not sort of knowing what to do or how to put it together. And for Queensland, like we're represented by the Liberal National Party, so that's our only option forwards politics with that. So if you can't break that cycle, you've got to dominate the internet, I suppose. Yeah.
So for me, Michael, we have more in common than you know, because I'm from a very small town called Munty in Western Australia, or Muntagin, and we had 12 houses, and and so I'm a country bumpkin who is always been an advocate for the little guy, the one that needed defending. I was always a bit of a eco warrior, I think, an activist and I have people that still meet me now that haven't seen me for like 30 years, and they're like, "You haven't changed at all, Mart." So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not planning to. I'm just doing my gig, and things fall on my lap." So it's great to be in this fight together, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's good.
I think you two need to meet in person. I think that this amplification is wonderful. So I really do want to know from each of you what you would like. Michael, you said, yes, you would love a team of barristers. I've got a really admirable friend who is a lawyer over there who I'm going to contact. I know he's helped people in the COVID cases, the Midazolam cases. He's super smart. I'm going to reach out to him straight away. But what else? What else would you like from people? Is it money? Do you need a lot of funds to keep the fights going?
Look, we've copped most of this ourselves, and other community members have so far. And the best thing about it is if we can not be trying to get money, if people have the skills and ability to just help us win this, set this precedent, like, let's just do it. Let's get it done. So the sharing of stuff, writing into ministers when you see something, like if you go back through all of our content, you'll see stuff there, different bits and pieces where people go, "You're joking. Are you serious?" Like, they don't want to get on that one, and because everyone knows they've done the wrong thing. We've just made it really easy for everyone to complain about it. So hopefully, that's the biggest help. People just get involved, get in there, share it, like it, and get into the politicians and the lawyers, and let's see if we can get the result.
And then I'm really interested if people in their own small towns want to push back, they can contact you guys and say, how do we start this? How do we start the pushback? Because if we could get multiple towns that are being bullied and multiple farmers who are being bullied pushing back, that would be even better, wouldn't it?
Be unreal. That'd be really good. We've helped a lot of towns already, so it's just, really a politician or a political party needs to take it on board, someone in the mainstream, and they're still sort of just hiding from it in Australia. It's like they don't want to, regardless of the fact of that voice result, they're still not wanting to admit it, because I think, some people genuinely need it to happen because it's tied into different projects and things, and, they've committed to this and that, and that they'd rather sell out their community than do the right thing. So I don't know. It's just got to be knocked on the head. The conversation's got to end, to be over, and we could all move on. We'll prosper. It'll cut a lot out of the waste in the economy, which is going to these corporations for no reason. Like there's no benefit. Like, we've got to provide the services in the rest of Australia, but then be bled at the other end to something that's not going to help anyone. Yeah.
I'm big on decentralisation, power back to the people in the small communities. If people want to come to you, where's your nearest town? Where do they fly into? I mean, let's make you a real world figure so that people can fly in and come to the pub.
Well, we've got the 2B Hotel. So if you look the 2B Hotel up on Facebook, you'll see it. So Gundawindi is nearest. There's a little airport there, or Toowoomba or Brisbane, or just drive out if you're in Australia. It's a cool little town. It's a big pub, and it's always open. There's always someone here. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Hey, we actually do get a lot of people coming out here because they've seen the stories and they want to talk about the war.
I actually would recommend, if somebody wants to make a riveting documentary, go in and start filming this and start looking back through the material that's online.
To be honest, you'd end it with a documentary. I didn't even really think of that. Like, if someone could actually put all of this together and show what happened in the shortest amount of time, it's insane.
It'd be incredible. Yeah. And I actually think that it would sell at film festivals around the world, and it would inspire so many people. Yeah, I'm gonna think about that, but also put the call out. There'll be somebody who's chomping at the bit to do something like that right now. And Bronwyn, how did you meet Michael? And what was your first impression when you heard the story?
Actually, I hunted him down because my friend Wade Northhausen from Billboard Battalion,
who's
literally
wonderful,
up to his front gate. So I had dinner with Wade and Belinda just on Friday night, and they were telling me, and I said, "Are you serious? We have to get this man, and we have to talk about this," because what is so important about what's happening with Michael and Michael's town and other tiny towns around Australia is that once you've got these amalgamated, these corporations will literally just pick up the fences, and now they're owning a huge chunk of Australia. And because that there is this, I'm going to say the word treaty, I'm saying it loosely, that they will have these, that is going to then have an impact on whether we have a constitution or not. Because it's one world order.
Yes.
And it's the UN who's doing this. Do you see the dots here? This is just the one step. They've got 4 more years of putting their little plan together in lockstep across the world. And whether it's a biosecurity issue, the geoengineered weather, which is also part of that plan, it's also like land grabs, it's locking land away, land banking. This is part of, forget about you owning anything, because you won't, and you'll be happy, okay? And because
we won't be happy. That's what
right.
Schwab said.
You won't be
will
happy.
Own nothing and you'll be happy. Rubbish. Absolute rubbish.
Exactly. But here's the thing. After July 19, and this is why I was so heavily invested in that date, is because it's all set in this Constitution's legislation on September 19 or 25. I still can't get an answer on that. It's in that week. Once that's cemented in, and then they will go for broke on these land grabs, locking up land, pushing, relocating, push. You don't have that constitution, because once that's cemented, you don't have people in Parliament, because it's one world order with the unelected who are now in control.
Australia's lost its sovereignty, and that's part of that Sendai discussion we had last week. So we will put that underneath. We also often with you, Bronwyn, end with the Agenda 2030. I know many people who follow will have watched it already, but you really can't watch it enough. We've put on one side what they're saying, their sweet words, this is all for our good and for a better world. On the other side, you can see how dark and cruel to humanity is Agenda 2030. We'll put that at the end of this discussion. I want to head back to you, Martine, and talk about freedom of speech and what you're doing, your part in it, which is extraordinary, and how threatened that is in Australia right now for people to realise how your freedom of speech, as in the UK, they're really wanting to silence you guys, aren't they?
Yes, look, to see what's happening in the UK is so disturbing, to the point where it is like 1984 kind of stuff.
George Orwell's book, absolutely,
yeah.
Big Brother.
So for us at Edge Radio Australia, they headhunted me actually, which was kind of funny. They saw me talking. I did a presentation on offshore wind and tying this all together, and they just went, her. And so they said, we want you to join Edge Radio. And I was like, are you sure? So because and they said, no, we live life on the edge, and we need people that are out there that are going to say the truth and speak it frankly. And so I said, well, I'm your girl, because I'm a country girl and I shoot straight from the hip and I don't like BS, and people who try to swindle me, I will sort you out. That's why the likes of Mr. Bowen, the Minister for Energy, he runs from me and hides out in little blacked out buses. He's scared of little blonde women. I love it. That grown-ass men can actually, sorry, I'm supposed to not say that word. The grown men run from women like me. I think that's funny, because when you know you've got your facts and your information and you can hold them accountable. One thing I would like to say is
Bowen, when I was talking to Craig Kelly last week, he was saying absolutely straight up, Bowen lies. And I'm going to quote that. Yeah, absolutely.
Pathological liar. He said that we won't be subsidising, and then we're upping the subsidies, and now we're not only subsidising. He's saying that Australian taxpayers' dollars are going to be put forward to actually buy some of the infrastructure off these current foreign corporations. So now we're actually paying entirely for them and their profit. Like, I'm just like, this is insane. So he can't lay straight in bed, that bloke. So give me a call, Mr. Bowen. You've been running from me for a while. There's a lot of us that'd like to have a chat with you.
These people should not be representing the people of Australia. They're representing something else, and it's the Agenda 2030 agenda. That's what it is.
The one thing that really concerns me is the fact that it's been arranged in such a way that they've degraded the departments that are the governments that were the sort of checkpoints, where in the past I had a lot to do with them, and there were really well set out organisations that connected to government departments, for the Department of Environment, and then there was, waste management, all this kind of stuff, and that just slowly got degraded down to skeleton crew. And I saw it was all for planning of this, where funding that goes towards whale research and cetaceans and the marine sector is all now controlled by the federal government, which means that how many researchers do you think that have the confidence now to speak the truth against the installation of these turbines into the marine sector worldwide, and aren't going to be worried about the fact that their next grants that they're getting, they've already applied for, is going to be cancelled because they're no longer compliant, or it's not relevant, the research that they're doing anymore, that they're going to put the funding somewhere else. And so this is where the manipulation has gone too far. The control and the throttle they've got on the necks of those individuals that have that information and data. So I know that there are people in probably New Zealand that do whale research, and in South Africa that aren't part of the GOA agreement. If there's ones that would like to speak to me, please connect, because I would love to talk to you about your insight, your expertise on how the installation of offshore wind is going to affect cetaceans and whales and other marine animals, because we know that the science is there, but having someone to come out and publicly say it, just to put it into context, there has been an estimated 5,000 whales, dolphins and porpoises die in UK waters in the last 5 years.
Die in UK waters?
Since the installation of offshore wind turbines on the East Coast.
Horrendous.
So the reporting of that data stopped suddenly. I wonder why, because people were questioning what's going on. And then on the East Coast, under the Biden administration, he suppressed all of those documents through NOAA, the Department of Fisheries, the Department of Interior. And now, with the different change of administration, they're doing an investigation. So by the end of the year, we're going to see some very, very alarming stuff. However, they're trying to fast track in our berthing zone and our whale migration zone. So this is a superhighway here for marine species and whales. We're going to have marine surveying start in the next few weeks. So please, any researchers out there that have the gonads or the gumption to give me a call, please do, because I'm sick of doing this all by myself, like others.
It would be wonderful to get you some funding as well. How can people contact you directly? What's the best way?
So you can track me down through Edge Radio Australia, but also Save Our Beloved Geograph Bay, and we are the group that's a community-based group. Like we're not registered for funding on donations, but certainly there are events that if you'd like to come in and sponsor or things like that, contribute to, that's how we do it. We get around that because the government, once you become a registered donor and eligibility for donations, they can come down and shut you down, which is what they did to the onshore wind industry. Those people that were investigating to the damage, that's what they did. And that's how they stopped all of those people being supported, because the government controlled that whole system.
That's what we learnt. Westpac Bank just shut us down. And it's because we weren't the friend of the government, and we weren't the friend because the government's been doing wrong. So what about this whole freedom of speech issue. Where are you on E. Karen, this American woman who has been allowed the privilege of being welcomed in by Australians to live in the Australians' country, and now this American woman is trying to put her metaphorical boot across the mouths of all of you Australians. It is disgraceful.
I'd say let's have a chat, sweetheart.
I wonder who'll come off best there.
I'll pick the pub. Because if it doesn't pass the pub test, it's not going to pass anywhere else in Australia. And that's what we're coming back to. You can have as much rhetoric as you like, but when it comes down to the nuts and bolts of things and it doesn't pass the pub test, we'll see through it.
And that's the thing. They may be able to silence us all online, but they can't stop us forever talking to one another and communicating our ideas and going back to carrier pigeons if we have to. But there will be a way we can keep telling our ideas. What do you think your forebears who would have fought, in Gallipoli in World War I, World War II, what do you think they would think of the Australia that Albanese is now allowing?
That's interesting that you raised this. This was going through my head all week, actually. I can't exactly say why, but I am the granddaughter of an Anzac. My grandfather fought in Papua New Guinea and building bridges, and he would be horrified, like so many that fought for our values, for our ethics, our culture, what we are. And as much as that generation wasn't of its own evolution, I look at the generation that we are and how integrated we actually are as a nation. And then we've had the same kind of immigration policies coming in where we're letting in people that don't necessarily or would have qualified in the past to come in and settle into this nation, be given status to come in as a citizen and then be able to vote straight away, those kinds of things. And that would be curdling his blood. And I feel a bit the same. It's like, there are homeless people that are working families that can't put a roof over their head since the COVID scam. And we are letting people come into this nation. We're giving them handouts, hand over fist, putting them up in 5-star accommodations, putting them straight onto Centrelink, putting them into housing when we have Australians that can't even look after the basic essentials of life. And this is why getting that story out there and making sure we do have those conversations is so important. So I know that I certainly have that Anzac spirit in me that's never going away. I think I was born and bred with that in my blood because I have been a fighter since I was little. And that's why I had a friend this week saying, you're a bit of a force to be reckoned with. And I'm like, I can't deny that. And you're not the first to mention it. But what I will say is that I might be one force, but together is how we're going to win this, because we need to stay united and not let their agenda, their ideology turn us into what they wanted, which is why I don't like the segregation between those that took the experimental vaccine and those that didn't. It's like we need to find a way to come back to heal that. I've always been that way. I'm sick of hearing that rhetoric. I don't care about what your skin colour, what you come from, as far as I'm concerned. If you want to be here, work hard and uphold our values and our ethics, our cultural standards, you're welcome.
And that's one of my best friends is Indian origin, and he contributes so much to this country. However, Luxon, our Prime Minister, has just come back from a trip to India saying, hey, we're just opening up New Zealand to Indians. Our roads are choked. Our schools are full. Our hospitals have 8 to 12-hour waiting lists. There's no way our infrastructure can take it. You can see that Luxon is a full-on WEFer. He loves Gates. He loves the whole world globalist scam that they are rolling out. He does not care about us, and he does not consult us. And you can see that the numbers of migrants that are going to be coming in will never integrate because they can't in the numbers he's going to allow. And I can see that's happened in Australia, definitely happened in the UK and Ireland and Scotland. It's horrific what they're doing. Michael, what about your lineage? Were your forebears in the wars, and what would they be saying to you, do you think?
Actually, a bit scared to say it. My granddad come from Norway.
Really?
Well, he was born in America, but his family's from Norway. So my name means sacrifice valley in Norwegian. But we can look past these issues, I hope, because I definitely have been there and I don't want to move back there. It's a pretty wild country. But yeah, my grandfather actually came over as an American and served in PNG and met up with my dad's mum in Sydney. So he's like a war baby from that era. But yeah, I imagine everyone would be wondering why there's so many of us still alive. Like, you guys obviously have lost a war or something's gone wrong here, yet you're all still here without a scratch on you. It's the complacency that's allowed this to happen. It must bring a lot of shame to those older people. Like I said before, I think that's why so many older people are following what's going on with this. And they're like, they're going to erase our history. They're making us do this little welcome to country to people that don't even come from here. And then, all of the other stuff that comes with it. It's like they've erased our culture, and that's the goal. And now we'll rebuild ourselves as part of theirs. And I think it's really bad.
And Michael, that fighting Viking spirit can be really good. I've got Scandinavian blood. Gunn would have been Gunn, a Scandinavian name. I think it's given me that fight. But we have to say that we Antipodeans now need to stick together. It's not just across Australia or within New Zealand. We Australians and New Zealanders need to come back in that Anzac spirit and fight off the globalists together. I very much would love to follow up with both of you, I think, on this. I'd like your views just briefly before we finish, Michael, on E. Karen and her attempts to silence. Have you had any censors trying to come in on Facebook? If you haven't, it'd be a miracle.
Well, look, if you've heard my story and the things that I've said, so would you believe we've actually not had one single thing ever taken down or fact-checked?
Brilliant. And
because that's it, we've done so well with how we've done it. And it's all we're doing is just teaching people. It's such a big thing and it's so difficult to know. So instead of going at it straight up head on where it might be, you're racist, aren't you? We'll just pick it apart. We'll just pick bits and pieces and we'll chew it here, chew it there, and next minute it's like a sieve and it can't hold water, and then you just sort of move forward with it. And I think that's how we've avoided that. But yeah, the thought of this E. Karen thing. If you look in England now, there's a chick in jail for a Facebook, like a Twitter post. So, yeah, she deleted it an hour later. She's in prison for who knows how long. It's like, but yet on the street, there's the crime, there's everything else that's going on. That's it. It's obviously a control thing, and everything is. That's what most of the government's about, isn't it? It's all that sort of legislation and crap they follow just to slow everything down, make it cost more. So, E. Karen's just another way of controlling us. If we lose our voice, we're done. No, social media is the only thing that's standing between us and failure, really. So we have to dominate that because we can't control the media with social media. I know that it sounds a bit far-reaching, but when people get enough power and a big enough name and they start pushing in the right directions, and that's what 2B has really given us, because you've got both sides of the spectrum. You can love native title, think it's the best thing ever, but do you like it when it's delivered in the fashion it's been in 2B, where it's obviously a crime? Like, this corporation actually got convicted of fraud. So $2.3 million in fraud at the time in 2016 they got the native title termination through. So $1 million of that's still missing. Nobody knows how they got here, where they come from. So with the E. Karen side of things in the internet, it's been interesting to try and put this story in there, because it's the first time this has happened, and it seems to have slid underneath the radar of people wanting to properly shut it down, or maybe we just handled it really well. But it is a worry. And yeah, we can't have that.
We can't have censorship, but maybe there are a couple of days that we'll take to edit this. It'll go into the editing queue. In these days, could you please copy everything that's on your Facebook page so you don't lose that? Because that's the one problem with it, that when they press a button, it can all be gone if they
actually promote our content. So they forward our content on. It's hilarious how this has actually gone. I get paid for content on the hotel page now.
Yeah.
So I didn't know nothing about social media. We just get screwed around with it. So now when we post on the pub page, someone lost a dog the other day and we got $80 for the post. I don't know how it's going on. So anyway, on my page, I'm not getting paid, but they're actually pushing our content forward because it's so engaging. So many people following the story. We had 3.7 million views last month on a problem that affects 30 people.
That's so good.
It's insane.
That's so good. But
we just want it to be over, though, dead set. I don't want to be a celebrity, a comedian, a TV person. I just want to go back to being a publican and raising my kids. So anyone that can help get that sorted, I'd really bloody appreciate it.
And
We've had enough.
promise me you'll copy your Facebook stuff over. Just get somebody to copy it so it's perhaps on a memory stick. it would be a good idea. I really do think that's a protection before we put this out. Martine, you were going to say something.
I'm not sure about the lost dog and getting $80 for that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny, isn't it? How does that happen?
That's literally, that's a country joke, isn't it? So all I can say is that we have been able to keep around the social media restriction because we kept our page private, and that was by intention, because we are very explicit about how we feel about Blackout Bowen and Mr. Albanese and Mr. Watts, or what, as I say, what's his name? He's missing in action. Like, where's Wally? Like, where's Mr. Watts? Where's he at? Like, no one's seen his face. What's he doing? We do know he's employed a whale expert on the payroll to make sure that they can try and cross all their T's and dot all their I's and make sure that they're not accountable for causing an extinction level of whales. But that's okay on their watch, I guess, these days. Just to put it into context, that the northern right whale is going to be the next declared extinct animal or whale that they know. So that's why we're trying to avoid that as much as possible. And it's not just the whales, it's the sharks, it's the octopus. There's a whole bunch of endemic species out there, the jewfish. There's so many animals that live in our marine sector that have the right to just exist there, go about their business without us harming them, because we actually do know better. And most everyday Australians that haven't bought into the hook, line and sinker of the greenwashing agenda has sat back and looked at it and gone, this is crazy. Anyone who's been involved in construction says how much concrete is going in there, how much, wait a sec, this is really bad. Like the Rio bar, the concrete, how much that leaches out lime and it changes the pH. And then you've got the outflowing of the pumps that cool the engines in the turbines that have to have bleach in them. So they're super hot with bleach. How much is that going to kill plankton and then all microbes in the area? And again, killing them off microbes with bleach. We know what that does, don't we, in the soil? Hence why I'm involved with Earthfood. And it's like, bit by bit, it's degrading the whole biosphere, so that I know that people have reported that even the vibration for those animals that bury themselves in the sand, in sandy substrates, it's now a desert because they don't live there anymore. They don't live there anymore because it's so traumatic for them to exist and to try and function with that constant vibration and frequency in the sandy substrate for them to exist in. So they make up the very bottom of the food chain for so many species. And this is what we're looking at. Over here, they're going to cut through our limestone reef systems and destroy coral reef. Could you imagine if they said this is going to happen on the Great Barrier Reef? So call out to all of those Kiwis. We love our whales and we love our koalas. And our previous environmental minister allowed koalas to be clubbed to death to make way for grid lines for this green renewables. And they're going to do the same with baby whales in a whale birthing zone. So imagine trying to give birth in a birthing zone where there's a jackhammer going off, or you can't communicate with your baby because the infrasound from the offshore wind turbines actually interferes with the whale whispers between a mother and its baby. And this is a birthing zone for not only the humpback whales, but also southern right whales have their babies and are birthing there as well. So all I can say is that if anyone's concerned about the state of the planet, it's got nothing to do with climate hysteria right now. It's about protecting these species for the sake of this insanity that's being driven by hysteria, because we've thrown out all precaution, all sensibility, all logic and ecology-based science when it comes to the installation of these insane wind turbines all across the planet. But here in Australia and in WA, it's a whale birthing zone, and it's the first that'll ever be put in a reef system, ever. And they're going to put all of that at risk.
And it's being driven by this madness of renewables that doesn't make sense, and it's being driven by propaganda, and it is being upheld by our legacy media. So Karl Stefanovic, you were a young reporter in the TVNZ newsroom when I was in TVNZ. Please, would you contact me, liz.gunn@freenz.org. Please contact me, and then I can put you in urgent touch with both of these speakers tonight to follow through this story if you have to every single day, because this impacts the lives of everybody across Australia. Doesn't it, Bronwyn? I think we'll end perhaps talking about your earth food, which gives me more hope than I can even tell when I'm talking to people who are desperate and worried about the way the world is going under these sociopathic globalists. I just talk about your earth food and I say she's got this amazing product that can clean up the soil. Briefly tell us about that, and we'll end with talking about why you're an ambassador for that too.
So I'm founder of Earthfood, which is we have these nitrifying living soil microbes as opposed to waterborne microbes, your compost tea and your worm juice. These are designed by Mother Nature to work inside the soil and in harsh temperatures from, those really hot 48-degree days and desert conditions down to where you've got snow on top of the ground. And these microbes will survive and thrive and restructure soil. But here's the important thing. All the things that we're talking about today, where we have destruction of our living microbes in the soil, whether it's from being open to the sun or whether it's where we've got these turbines being created with high levels of lime and concrete. These microbes can repair that. They can repair end-of-life mining sites. They can repair these atrocities that is happening to our land. That's their job. That's what they do. That's what they were designed for, Mother Nature's repair toolkit. And by all we have to do is just put these microbes back in the soil. Now, we can't save the world, as I keep telling people, and I know there are people who are braver than us and are stronger than us and who will stand taller than us. But at least if we look after our own square metre on the planet, at least we can get some peace of mind. We can get healthy, high-density nutrition, because that's their job. They unlock all the nutrients and the trace minerals in the soil. That goes into the tissue culture of the food. That goes into us. And we're going to have to do
the animals. It makes the animals so healthy.
Absolutely.
When they eat those plants. Yep.
You get 40% more protein in every blade of grass if you've got cattle or livestock. But the thing is this, when we have everything available to us as the way Mother Nature intended, then we can look after ourselves to be healthier and to build a better family, a better street, a better region, and take care of ourselves, because we have to be strong. You can't do things if you're sick, tired, broken over it. It's just, we just need to be looking after ourselves. And I think that's, Liz, that when we've been banging drums for a long time, it wears thin. We wear out. I know from my point of view, I'm up to my eyeballs in emails and paperwork. I dare not show you what my office looks like. And I'm an organised person, so it's out of sync for me. But you know what? I will not stop. I will not stop, because we're at a tipping point for humanity, and we must take each other's arms, lock onto each other, take care of the ground that we stand on, and march forward. It's not going to be too hard. It's harder to do on your own. It's easier to do if you're part of a community. Like Michael said, he has a whole bunch of people who are watching out for him, he's got his back. And it's the same with Wade. There's people, and Martine, there's people behind. Just look over your shoulder. There they are. And you could be one of those. Be behind those if you can't do it. But it's about being healthy, and our pets as well, and not destroying everything that we've got, which we've been taught to do. We've been taught with the repeat business model of the big ag cartel product range. And that's why we don't know the difference. So unlearn what you know, get onto our website, yourearthfood.com, and start learning something else. Look at the video with Farmer Adam Jones at the bottom of the homepage and start thinking about things differently. That's my point for you today. your homework for this week.
That's lovely, Bron. And yes, just a warning on your pets. They're really putting a lot of articles out around Europe, America, saying, get pets jabbed, and pets might not be good for the environment. It's all rubbish to try to make us give up these animals that keep us sane. Please, everybody out there, do not give them jabs anymore at your vets. There's a lot of evidence now that the mRNA is in the pet vaccines, and we will need more evidence, more people coming forward on that. liz.gunn@freenz.org if you know more about that or you're working in the vet services. But let's go back to you, Martine. Why did you decide to be an Earthfood ambassador, having come across Bronwyn's wonderful microbes for healing our soil? What got you excited?
I used to work for doctors quite some time ago, and these doctors were specialists in nutritional healing and using natural chemicals from plants to heal the body and rebalance the body, because the body has capacity to heal. But more and more I'm hearing from people how they're deficient in things. And so for me, it was like the last puzzle piece that I required to put the picture together for what's really wrong. And we knew that Western Australian soils are some of the worst soils in the world for nutrient deficient soil content. And we are copper toxic sometimes in areas, and there's all kinds of imbalances going on. But then when looking at this and how the microbes break down and make those nutrients and those minerals bioavailable back to plants and restructuring the plant, I was like, all the lights kind of came on for me, because if we're not healing through the food that we're consuming every day, and we don't look at that through herbalism and the herbs we put on our food. Traditionally, that's why in other cultures, traditional cultures, they use those foods because they know they get rid of parasites, or they balance, the digestive system with like being bitters or things like that. So we've lost that knowledge, one. And so going out there and sharing that knowledge is something that I'm passionate about, but also helping people feel re-empowered about taking back a way to heal their body. And I had to do this for myself a long time ago. I got diagnosed years after I knew something was wrong with my body, and mine was from one of those when I was 14, and I suffered adverse reactions, and I developed autoimmune and disease. So I've healed myself predominantly from that through nutritional healing, putting back into my body what it requires to heal itself, and then also in that through meditation, through doing all of those things that nourish my soul. Like for me, it's the ocean. I am a mermaid. So knowing, and that's the thing, is that the nutrients bioavailable in the ocean heal our bodies. So people need to understand this. Like I was told, and this is not medical advice for anyone, but 30 mils of pure seawater in a litre of water, if you're having that throughout the day, all those bioavailable nutrients, if you can't get it other ways, that's the cheapest way to do it, from a herbalist that told me this a long time ago. Again, consult your own professionals if you'd like to do so. So basically for me, I'm out there about empowering people and saying, you know what, you can heal your body, we can heal this planet, and everyone just take responsibility, just like Bron said, about take responsibility for your body, your life, your patch, and then together we support each other in healing on a global scale, because as far as I'm concerned, it's all connected. There's no disconnection from many of these things. Hence, for me, it's about the whales, because it's the biggest matriarchal system on the planet, and protecting those matriarchs is what will keep this planet aligned and balanced.
Oh,
they're the mothers.
They're the mothers. How beautifully said. How powerfully said. Michael, I don't know if you're aware of how much Bill Gates is trying to denude our food. I've just heard this week that there's some horrific lab-grown butter that tastes absolutely foul, and it's nothing to do with butter at all. There's this lab-grown meat that nobody wants. I gather that in America, I think Mike Adams on the Health Ranger, if you follow his podcast, was saying this synthetic meat market is completely collapsing in America. But are you aware of how much Bronwyn's microbes can help even in your town grow healthy foods, become self-sufficient, not need the commercial foods. I think that's the way we all have to go now to be able to think and act clearly. We have to grow our own food as much as possible. I've just connected with a farmer today who has organic cows, and he's going to give me half a cow. I'm really leaving the supermarkets alone, apart from toilet paper. And even then I can use leaves, I've realised. Are you aware
Sure,
of
we're
all
going to
this?
get into leaves just yet.
Are you aware of all of this, Michael? Are you part of
If
this?
someone was caught eating artificial beef in Western Queensland, I imagine they would disappear from society pretty fast. Like, we eat a lot of meat out here, and yeah, I get what you mean. We've actually bring the price of beef and lamb and stuff down. If the government did that, encourage people to be able to eat that more, it's healthier, it's better for you. You know, put more value into that for the farmer too, with a really good domestic market. Like, it's such a good product. We sell a lot of meat at the hotel here. We've got some great, just grass-fed Wagyu now, just straight off the grass. Unbelievable. So, yeah, we're getting that through now, whereas you used to have to rely on feedlots and stuff for grain-fed stuff to get the good quality. Yeah, there's a lot to it. And the soil microbe sort of stuff's interesting. Like, we're at the forefront of agriculture out here with zero till, which was where you left your stubble up to try and keep your moisture in, and where you run your machinery, so you're tram tracking, so you're not cold, like pushing the soil in too much and destroying stuff. So I think inevitably it'll get somewhere like that, because we use a lot of fertiliser. There's a lot of chemicals and stuff still used out, obviously, in Queensland on those big broad acre things. So it'd be cool to see them be able to get away from that and get into some healthier stuff. Like, yeah, we make a lot of food in Australia. Hey? I think we export something like 75 or 80% of what we create.
Wouldn't it be wonderful just to be able to go to a farmer and have all direct raw milk and raw butter and raw meat? It's just the way to do it. Bypass these supermarkets that are peddling poison. There are so many more things the three of us, the four of us could talk about, the three of you could talk about. I would love the four of us to be able to meet in your pub, actually, Michael. That would be my dream. Yeah, I think.
Anytime. Mate, yeah, great. We've got heaps of rooms here. We'll look after you.
I think it'd be great. Bronwyn, are you going to head up there as soon as you can?
Yeah, I was thinking, come on out, Liz. Let's do the doco.
I'm starting to think about it too, and I think I've got the voice for it. I think Martine would be.
Yeah, bloody oath.
Yeah, I think Martine would be the voice for it, and we could film it. It would be a terrific story, and it would end up being a film that would just endear you to everybody. It's
a big story.
Yeah, it's a huge story, and it's a courage-inducing story. It will make so many others feel courageous to follow you. So I encourage everybody watching this, please do two things. Share this interview, and please sign up and support all three of our guests, and we'll put the websites below, obviously, so you can sign up and support them as much as you can. We'd love some barristers to help Michael. We need a group of barristers to get on there so this fight is won. And I want to end with this. We are in a spiritual war. I referred to the Anzacs because anyone who's aware now knows this is really a version of war. We've never had it before in this version. We're in World War III, and ultimately it's a war of good and evil. It's a spiritual war, and those of us who are connected to a divine source will know very clearly, as I do, that good will win in the end, but it's taking a while. What final words of advice? I think I'll start with you, Bron, then Michael, and then I'll end with you, Martine. What advice to those who are finding they're war weary, who are overwhelmed, who are only starting to wake up to the fact that this is a war with globalists who would ruin our world? What's your advice, Bron, to end?
Yes, well, my advice is to fear not. I say that everywhere I go. It's not because it's going to just disappear magically. It's like, just take a deep breath, have a think about things logically. There are ways around problems there, and here we have a man out in the bush, out west in southern West Queensland, fighting a multi-billion-dollar organisation with his tin rattling with a couple of change and common sense. And this is something that I think we all can think about. Common sense, all we need is to be able to sit still, have a deep breath, fear not, because at least you're going to be able to join arms with your neighbours and everyone else, and we will walk through this. It's not going to be like tomorrow, make it easy, but over time things will work out. They always have. Look at history.
Yeah, and I love that idea. I always think every interview I do is worth it if just one person wakes up to the truth. And there might be 1,000 people who wake up from this interview. So, Michael, your final words. Thanks, Bron.
Oh, just thanks everyone for having us. Hey, it's a really good opportunity for us to be able to get our little story out and see the common stuff that we've got together. So yeah, just keep pushing.
Do you feel it's a spiritual war? Do you think it's a version of a new world war, the globalists versus those of us who are the people who want to leave a better world for our children?
Oh, massively, yeah. They're obviously trying to destroy everything that the generations of us before have done. So we have no choice but to continue fighting. And once people realise that, it's amazing. We've been lucky to see people get converted so quickly, like thousands and thousands of people that hear the story and they go, there's no way that happened. Oh, we did have a look on the internet. They're like, oh, Jesus Christ, what happened to your town? Like, but what's disappointing I've actually found is the Catholic Church. It's actually got money set aside for fights like this, yet won't have a bar of it because it's too busy worrying about putting immigrants in the country and stuff. And you're going, hey, what are you doing? Like, you were supposed to be the one telling our story. Now you've left it to the people in bloody Tubi.
In the pandemic, a friend of mine went to church not wearing a mask and said that was okay by his God, and the vicar called the police on him. The churches have let us down very, very badly, and we will remember, but we can link directly with the divine source, and the divine source will help us win this. So final words to you, Martine. It's been so delightful talking to all of you tonight. What about you, Martine? Your advice to people and your view on whether it really is a world war that we're in, and that's a call. Buckle up and steel up your spine and stand up and speak out. That's why I make the war call.
Well, I'm very grateful for the connection to all of us this evening for a start, or today, and that's because I look at the human spirit as something that might be a little bit broken and fractured sometimes, but I also see it as something so incredibly powerful, that we have this capacity to love that's so beyond explanation. And this love that unites us is what I focus on more than anything. That there has always been that battle against an evil force that I see from cradle to grave. And I think at this point, what happens is that the evil needs to show its face so that we know what we're really been up against. So it's a hidden force that has this very sinister, underhanded manipulation that's been going on. And all I see is that this has just revealed itself exactly like it needed to, so we could focus on those areas that we individually know that that's our path. And I think that's where the sense of where each of us has become empowered in our own divine, where we can go, that aspect is what protection of children and people in the medical system, and people fighting for farmers' rights, and people fighting for the marine sector, and people fighting for, everyone has started to fall into what I call their soul group, or their warriors, the troops and who they're aligned with. And so I can see this uniting worldwide. It's not just Australia and New Zealand. I have these same conversations with our comrades over, our beautiful souls over in the US, and it's the same sentiment every time, is that, you know what, we've got this. We have what it takes to take and disassemble this, because I unplugged from the matrix a long time ago, and try and find me. Only way you will is when I pop my head up and I want you to see me.
It's brilliant. I'd love to link you in with friends in Canada, so maybe we're up for another discussion, all of us again. But boy, that idea of meeting you in a pub, we'd have more than 2 beers. I've
got the cowboy boots ready.
It'd be great. And it's been so helpful. Please, could everybody take this interview also, if you do edit, could you cut little parts of this interview up and post them on your timelines? Because whatever matters from each of these wonderful articulate speakers, whatever matters to you, if you post that out, will also help get the message out there. And Princess Mary, please contact me, liz.gunn@freenz.org. I'd love to put you in touch with Martine and Michael and Bronwyn, and maybe you could put something back into your country from your privileged position once you realise from this interview how seriously threatened the whales of Australia are. Please dial in. We'd love to hear from you. Any of us would. Thank you so much, all of you, and we'll talk again soon.
Yeah.